In the year 2311, Sam Ackerman found himself posted to the frozen graveyard of Volantis. Assigned to the 41st Engineering Unit of the SCAF, his orders were clear: support the ongoing archaeological and research efforts that had taken root in the icy soil of the distant colony. At first, it was just another cold assignment, quiet, methodical, and far removed from the chaos of the inner systems. That changed quickly. When the outbreak began, when the screams echoed through the metal corridors, and bodies no longer stayed dead, Sam and the others did what they could to survive. Alongside a scattered group of survivors, he helped fortify Facility RS-9, an old research station perched against the harsh winds like a forgotten relic. They believed, perhaps foolishly, that its reinforced walls and sealed bulkheads could keep the nightmares at bay. Inside the cold steel of the bunker, they made their stand, hoping, praying, that the horror sweeping through the colony would burn itself out before it reached them. Once the last of the creatures had been driven out, the bunker fell silent. Sam Ackerman and what remained of his unit moved through the dim corridors of Facility RS-9, clearing out the twisted corpses left behind. The air was thick with rot, the walls stained with what no one dared to examine too closely. They piled the bodies in the central chamber and set to work securing the entrances, rigging barricades, welding shut access hatches, anything to make the place feel remotely safe. But safety was an illusion. While checking the supply cache, Sam made a grim discovery. The rations had spoiled. Everything. Freeze-dried packs, nutrient paste, even the emergency reserves were contaminated, rendered useless in the cold, damp decay of the bunker. Panic set in fast. One of the soldiers, a corporal with trembling hands, made a suggestion first. Low, almost a whisper. They still had corpses. The necromorphs. Maybe they could be used. Sam recoiled at the thought. "You can't eat that," he warned. "You shouldn't." But Desperation did not care for warnings. He watched from a distance as the others carved into the infected flesh, cooking it over the jerry-rigged burners, their eyes sunken with hunger. Sam refused. He gathered what little gear he had and found a compartment deeper in the facility, sealing himself in. Then, the screams began. One by one, the others started to change. Bones creaking, eyes bleeding, voices turning to guttural howls. The necromorph infection within the flesh had not died with the host. It had simply waited, and now it spread again, this time from within. For 3 long days, Sam remained hidden in the dark. He barely moved, barely breathed. Once, one of them sniffed him out, emaciated, twisting, its face still bearing the remnants of a man it had once been. But it turned away, drawn by some distant sound. Alone, cold and starving, Sam endured, while the nightmare festered just beyond the walls. Sam eventually found refuge in a small communication room, nestled near the elevator shaft, a reinforced corner of the facility still untouched by the horrors stalking its halls. He jammed whatever furniture he could against the door, bolting it shut with lengths of cable and welding scrap. Outside, the sound of metal scraping echoed through the corridor. Then came the voices. They weren't quite human anymore. "Sam, please, open the door. We're just so hungry. We just need a little bite." Their words slurred between growls and sobs, their minds fractured by the infection, gnawing away at what little humanity remained. Sam pressed his back against the cold wall, fists clenched, heart pounding in his ears. He knew what they'd become. Knew that if he faltered, if he hesitated for even a moment, he would be next. In the dim light of the comms panel, he worked feverishly, tuning into old emergency channels, broadcasting an open distress signal to anyone who might still be alive on the colony. Static, silence. Then, finally, a voice. "This is Dr. Earl Serrano. I received your signal." Sam blinked in disbelief. A real voice? A real person? Serrano's instructions were urgent. Link up with Private Tim Kaufman, who was en route to recover something called the codeex, an object that, according to Serrano, might hold the key to ending the nightmare consuming Volantis. But first, Sam had to ensure the horrors behind the door would never follow. He accessed the bunker's elevator system from the comms terminal and manually disabled it, severing the main power conduit. With a shudder, the lift ground to a halt. The only path in and out of the lower levels was now sealed. Trapped in darkness, his former comrades howled in fury, betrayed, starving, and no longer human. Sam didn't look back. With nothing but his engineering suit, a handheld cutter, and a destination, he slipped out of the comms room into the frozen corridors of RS-9, heading towards wherever hope remained. The cold cut deeper the higher they climbed, but Sam Ackerman barely noticed anymore. After linking up with Private Tim Kaufman near the outskirts of the facility, the two men wasted no time setting out. Their goal was clear: retrieve the codex, a mysterious device Dr. Serrano claimed could end the outbreak, or at least contain it. But after 3 grueling hours of scouring ancient excavation sites and ravaged labs, they had nothing to show for it but frostbite and frustration. "This is pointless," Sam muttered. "Even if we do find this codex, what difference will it make? You've seen what's out there. It's over." Kaufman didn't respond. He kept his eyes on the waypoint Serrano had uploaded, his grip tightening around his rifle. Sam could see the tension in his posture, the exhaustion behind the silence. But the soldier pressed on, one determined footfall at a time. Eventually the signal led them to the base of a jagged peak. Embedded in the snow above, like a broken arrow, was a twisted wreck of a survey vessel. The ship had come down hard, its hull shattered, torn in half by the impact. The trail of blood-stained snow leading to the entrance told them that the infected had already got there first. They moved through the wreckage slowly, weapons raised. The inside of the mule was a tomb, corridors flickering with dying lights, walls painted with the remains of the crew. And then came the shrieks. Infected crew members, still wearing their uniforms, surged from the shadows in jerking, unnatural motions. Sam and Kaufman fought tooth and nail, backs against steel, the screams of the necromorphs echoing through the broken hull. By the time the last of the creatures fell, both men were bleeding, breathless, and barely standing. But they had it. The codex sat in a secured pod, surprisingly intact despite the crash. An angular device inscribed with alien glyphs, ominous in both form and function. Kaufman secured it while Sam stood over the nearest window, staring out at the endless white beyond. For the first time in hours, he didn't say a word. Maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. The moment Tim Kaufman disengaged the codex from his containment pod, the mule groaned beneath their feet, metal straining, the port beams cracking, eyes wide as he braced against the trembling bulkhead. The structural damage from the crash was finally catching up. Without a word, Kaufman hooked up to the rear airlock just as the mule began to collapse. The two men descended as fast as they could, frozen wind howling around them, their gears swaying as chunks of flaming wreckage exploded out from the ship's hull. The mountainside lit up in bursts of orange and red as pieces of the survey vessel rained down. Twisted steel, broken engines, and sections of the hull engulfed in fire. Sam shouted over the roar of destruction. "We're not going to make it down in time." And then snap. The explosion above severed the lines. Both men plummeted. They tumbled down the icy slope, bouncing off jagged rocks, boots scraping for purchase as gravity took hold. Kaufman managed to slow himself down using an emergency spike, skidding just to a stop short of the drop. Sam was less lucky. He rolled uncontrolled, twisting his body midair to avoid a flaming chunk of the mule's fuselage, then narrowly dodged a screaming engine core as it smashed into the slope above him, sending a shockwave of snow and rock cascading in its wake. For a moment, it looked like he might make it, his descent slowing, his battered form tumbling to the flattered ridge just above the base. Then came the final blow. A heavy section of debris, part of the ship's rear stabilizer, still burning, tore through the sky like a falling comet. It struck the ground just as Sam reached it. The impact was instant. Sam Anchorman was gone. Kaufman looked back, eyes scanning the wreckage below as the last flames of the mule flickered out. There was no time to grieve, no time to recover. Clutching the codex, he turned and pressed on, alone now, with the weight of Volantis and one man's sacrifice behind him.